اجلاس عمومی کنگره آمریکا. سخنرانی رندی نماینده کنگره از تگزاس 9 دسامبر 2025. رندی پیش از من خانم ولهویل نماینده کنگره از اورگان درباره حقوق زنان و دختران سخن گفت. خانم رجوی برای حقوق زنان، دختران و به علاوه مردان نیز مبارزه می کند.
او یک برنامه 10 ماده‌ای دارد: رد حجاب اجباری و حکومت مطلقه ولایت فقیه، تایید حاکمیت مردم در یک جمهوری مبتنی بر رأی همگانی، آزادی بیان، احزاب سیاسی، تجمعات، مطبوعات، انحلال و برچیدن سپاه پاسداران، نیروی تروریستی قدس، نیروی بسیج، وزارت اطلاعات و تمامی گشت‌ها و نهادهای سرکوبگر.
بازگشت حاکمیت به ایران توسط مردم ایران رخ خواهد داد. آنها سرنوشت خود را خواهند نوشت و آینده خود را تعیین خواهند کرد. به همین دلیل است که من از مریم رجوی حمایت می کنم. روح مبارزه علیه استیلای قهرآمیز امروز در خیابان‌های تهران، شیراز، اصفهان و بیش از 1000 شهر و روستا در سراسر ایران زنده است.
ما از تاریخ خودمان می‌دانیم که وقتی مردمی برای آزادی قیام می‌کنند، بهترین کاری که جهان می‌تواند انجام دهد این است که در کنارشان بایستد.
Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Weber, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next, at this time, I would like to yield to the gentlelady from Oregon for her statements that she may have as much time as she might want to consume.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of a free Iran and in solidarity with the women that are leading that fight. These women are asking for basic human dignity, the right to live without fear, to speak freely and to make decisions about their own lives. For too long, they have been silenced, imprisoned, and even killed for demanding those very freedoms. But they still courageously protest and persist. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for their daughters and their families, so the next generation can grow up with hope instead of fear and opportunities instead of oppression. The people of Iran deserve a future without fear, a future with free speech, free assembly, and the right to choose their own leaders and their own path. I stand with the women of Iran, I stand with their courage, and I will continue fighting for a future where every person in Iran can live free, speak freely, and dream without fear. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady is back, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for letting us do this. I want to say that tonight I rise to speak as we continue to examine what is unfolding before us. It's important to remember that the fight for the Iranian people is not some distant, unfamiliar struggle. You know, in many ways, it echoes the very heartbeat of our very own American story. We were a people under the heavy hand of those who believed power belonged to rulers, not citizens. Our founders knew that what it meant to challenge an authority that refused to listen. They understood what it meant to stand up too often alone and declare that sovereignty belongs to the people. They risked their livelihoods, Mr. Speaker, their reputation, their families. They risked everything so that future generations might inherit a nation grounded in rights, not repression, but grounded in freedom. And Mr. Speaker, that spirit is alive today in the streets of Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, and more than 1,000 towns and villages across Iran. We often talk about the American Revolution, but we rarely pause to recognize what it really was. A movement of ordinary people who refused to accept that their destiny would be decided for them by somebody else. They believed they had a God-given right to shape their future, And that is precisely what the people of Iran believe today. The parallel runs deeper than we sometimes see. When America endured the Great Depression, it was a time of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. But leaders like Franklin and Roosevelt reminded the American people that despair is never destiny. Let me repeat that. Despair is never destiny. He told them that courage, unity, and faith could rebuild an entire nation from the brink of ruin. Mr. Speaker, today, the Iranian people are living through their own era of hardship, economic collapse, political oppression, and constant fear, yet they continue to stand, continue to march, continue to hope. When the free world faced aggression in the 20th century, voices like Winston Churchill refused to surrender to hopelessness. He spoke truth when others stayed silent. He strengthened resolve when others faltered. He understood that a single courageous leader, speaking plainly, boldly, and without apology, could ignite the moral energy of millions. We're seeing that in Madam Rajavi right now, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. The same need exists today for the Iranian people. Leaders like her who speak truth and nations that stand firmly with her and behind her. And perhaps the strongest parallel of all comes from our own civil rights movement, a time when America confronted its deepest flaws and yet emerged stronger, more just, and more faithful to its founding ideals. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice," end quote. That arc bends when brave people stand up. It bends when people refuse to be silenced. And it bends when free nations lend their voice to those who have been denied one. Mr. Speaker, that's what we're witnessing in Iran today. A movement not controlled by foreign powers, not directed by political elites, but born from, quote, unquote, the ordinary people of Iran who simply want the dignity God intended for them. And let me say this plainly. The return of sovereignty in Iran will come from the Iranian people themselves. They will write their own destiny. They will determine their own future. America must stand with them, not to orchestrate their path, but to affirm it, not to impose our own will, but to support their right to express theirs. That's why I'm behind Miriam Rajavi, because we know from our own history that when people rise for freedom, the greatest thing the free world can do is stand beside them. She's got a 10-point plan, Mr. Speaker. Let me just read that 10-point plan. Number one, rejection of the Velafati, absolute cleric rule. Affirmation of the people's sovereignty in a republic founded on universal suffrage as well as pluralism. Number two, freedom of speech of political parties, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press and the internet, dissolution and disbanding of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, the terrorist Quds Force, plainclothes groups, the unpopular Bajis, the Ministry of Intelligence, Council of the Cultural Revolution, and all suppressive patrols and institutions in cities, villages, schools, universities, offices, and factories. Mr. Speaker, we heard the gentlelady from Oregon say a while ago about women getting their rights, girls getting their rights. Madam Rajavi is fighting for the rights of women, for girls, and for men too, by the way. Number three, the 10-point plan is a commitment to individual and social freedoms and rights in accordance with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Disbanding all agencies in charge of censorship and inquisition. Seeking justice for massacred political prisoners, prohibition of torture, and the abolishment of the death penalty. Number four of the 10-point plan, separation of religion and state and freedom of religions and faiths. Number five, complete gender equality in the realms of political, social, cultural, and economic rights, as well as equal participation of women in political leadership, Mr. Speaker. Abolishment of any form of discrimination. The right to choose one's own clothing. Figure that out, how simple that should be. The right to choose one's own clothing freely. The right to freely marry and divorce. And to obtain education and employment. prohibition of all forms of exploitation against women under any pretext. Number 6, an independent judiciary and legal system consistent with international standards based on a presumption of innocence, Mr. Speaker, the right to defense counsel, the right of appeal, the right to be tried in a public court, full independence of judges, abolishment of the mullah Sharia law, and dissolution of the Islamic revolutionary courts. Number 7, autonomy for and removal of double injustices against Iranian nationalities and ethnicities consistent with the NCRI's plan for the autonomy of Iranian Kurdistan. Number 8, justice and equal opportunities in the realms of employment and entrepreneurship for all of the people of Iran in a free market economy. Restoration of the rights of blue-collar workers, farmers, nurses, white-collar workers, teachers, and retirees. Number 9, protection and rehabilitation of the environment, which has been absolutely massacred under the mullahs. And then finally, number 10 of her 10-point plan, a non-nuclear Iran that is also devoid of weapons of mass destruction. Peace, coexistence, and international and regional cooperation. Mr. Speaker, I can't say it any better than what Maryam Rajabi has said. This matters for even our security. It matters for regional stability, absolutely. But most importantly, it matters because America has always believed that human liberty is not a Western idea, not an American idea. It's a universal truth. A sovereign Iran built by its people, powered by its people, and accountable to its people would be a force for stability, not chaos. It would be a force for prosperity, not destruction, a force for hope, not despair. The stories of the Iranian people today sound strikingly similar to the stories of the American people throughout our history. Resilient, courageous, unwilling to surrender to tyranny, determined to leave a better world for their children. Mr. Speaker, history shows us this. When people demand sovereignty and the free world supports them, the world changes. It happened in 1776. It happened throughout Europe in the darkest days of the 20th century. It happened in the movements for justice and equality on our own soil, and it can happen again for the people of Iran. Mr. Speaker, that's our prayer, that's our thought for today, and I yield back.